Hello, welcome everyone. Nice to see everyone arriving. We're going to get started in just a minute. Feel free to get what you need, beverage, your lunch, whatever you need to sustain yourself for this hour that we're together, and we'll just allow some more individuals to arrive. Okay. And if you want, in the chat, feel free to introduce yourself. If you're with an organization, however you want to welcome yourself in, feel free to do that as well. All right, and I'm just going to so nice to see everyone arriving. My name is Jennifer. I'll be your facilitator today, and totally understand if you're in the work environment and can't turn on your camera, that's totally fine. But if your camera can be on and you can be with your face on the screen today, that would be most welcomed as well. Oh, wonderful. Oh, Vivian, Astrid, so good to see you. Welcome. So, is it okay if we get started? I know we have a full hour, and yes, my pleasure. Welcome, Christina. Welcome to the Embodied Self-Care Lunch and Learn. So wonderful to have each of you here and just allowing yourself to gift yourself this hour to deepen your connection to your health, deepen your connection to your wellness, and overall joy in the world. So my name is Jennifer Navarro Marroquin. Let me turn off. I apologize. I'm just going to turn off my sounds here so that we don't get disturbed. And you're here in the right place. So this is in partnership with Shape Up San Francisco. I'm one of the co-chairs there. Lizzie Belton is also one of the co-chairs. I see that she's on the line today. And just a little bit about Shape Up for you, for those of you who don't know about the work that Shape Up does. They're an amazing coalition where we convene partners around San Francisco and the Bay Area around heal-focused work. So healthy eating, active living work. There's some great action teams that do work that help support small organizations, large organizations, and there's some policy work that happens through Shape Up all around the healthy eating, active living umbrella. So all of us want to make health equitable for San Francisco, and that's the initiative of Shape Up. And if you want to get involved, we'll tell you how to get involved later on and keep connecting with Shape Up because there's some great events happening. And I highly encourage, if you're interested in the health and wellness of our communities, for you to engage with what Shape Up's doing, because there's so much great things happening with the coalition as a whole. So today is about you and really fostering this philosophy of weaving in self-care, prioritizing your health, your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health as well. And before we begin, just want to take a moment to acknowledge the Indigenous lands that we are on currently. However, you want to acknowledge that, whether it's you just want to take a moment, take a breath, put your hand in the heart, and just acknowledge the Indigenous lands that you're on. I'm coming in today from Bay Miwok territory. I'm one of the co-founders of Community Well, which is on Ramaytush Ohlone territory in San Francisco. So just want to acknowledge that land is life and that the indigenous people of our lands that we're on are unceded. So it's our job as leaders and just community members to understand how to be in deeper solidarity with our indigenous brothers and sisters. So however you want to come in and acknowledge the lands that you're on, just welcome you to do that right now. And let's just take a moment to arrive. So This series, there's one this month and there's one next month, and it is focused on, kicking off Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's just really fostering and embodying these tools that we can weave in to our personal life and that we can weave into our professional life as well. I always say, let's start with us first. And once we feel really good about that, yes, let's share it with whoever that we love, and also with our workplace and our work environment as well. So this is a practice that I like to adopt before meetings, before coming together as a group in my professional and personal life as well. And it's just called a moment to arrive. So we can walk through this together. It's a simple practice. And what I encourage you to do is just allow yourself to find a comfortable place right now. Just a place where you're sitting or standing or maybe laying. If wherever you are, I'm just going to ask you to soften your gaze. And if you want to gently look down, that's wonderful. If you feel safe enough to close your eyes, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to soften my eyes, soft gaze right now. And then I'm just going to ask you to bring awareness to your breath right now. One of the basic elements of this moment to arrive is this connection to our breath, this beautiful relationship that we have with the inhale and exhale of our breath. And as you do that, you may notice some shift in your energy. Maybe you start to feel a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more present as the breath comes in and out of your body. You may also start to feel the breath becoming a little bit fuller. Just allow it to be whatever it needs to be. Nothing needs to be forced in this moment. And I'm just going to invite you for now to allow any stresses or worries to stay outside of this hour that we have together. Allow those checklists to stay outside of our time together here. Taking a breath. And if you want to make an audible exhale, that's great too. Audible exhale can sound like an ah or a sigh or a whatever feels right for you now. And I'm going to invite you to place one hand on the heart. It's a really good place to connect with our heart space. One hand on the belly gently. And as we do that, it just allows us to find a natural grounding into our bodies, into this moment. Taking a last breath here. And on the exhale, just allow the eyes to flutter open. Most important thing throughout this whole time together that we have, if you can allow a gentle smile to come to your face. So many good things happen when we smile. And again, it doesn't have to be forced. It's just a gentle allowing of that smile to come to our face. So how was that for you? Feel free to put anything in the chat, what's coming up. This is just a gentle practice that we can have, even when we're having family conversations, when we're having team meetings. It's a way for us to ground and be in the space together. So however that was for you, feel free to share just a little bit about me. I'll be your facilitator for this session and the next session in June. I'm one of the co-founders of Community Well, and happy to bring some of the practices that I've been doing well over 15 years into this space, consolidating it in a way that I hope is valuable for you. And at Community Well, we really want to focus on the upliftment and joy and thriving of our communities, and that's everything that we focus on in our mission and our vision. So this is a little bit about me. Just wanted to introduce myself really quickly, but really getting down into this check-in. And this is something that I love to also share with when I'm facilitating groups, is just let's check in, because so much of our time we're outside of our bodies. We're in our mind, we're in the future, we're in the past. But here, let's just ground ourselves in this practice of where are we? How can we assess how our energy levels are right now? So this is our check-in question. Just take a moment, feel your body, and in the chat, just rate yourself from 1, and no judgment here. It's just a rating of when we're beginning. Where are you? Do you feel exhausted? Do you have a low energy where you feel like coffee is needed to get to the rest of the day? Do you have moderate energy where you can, get through the rest of the day? Are you feeling really good? Are you high energy where you can tackle anything, and anything that comes your way, you'll have all the energy to get through that? Oh, wonderful. I see most of us are coming in threes, fours. Great, great. Just an easy assessment. And if we're at a one and we're at a two, that's totally fine. This is a great way for us to address, and I try to do this multiple times a day where I can adjust. Maybe that's a time where I can shift and do a breathing practice, or maybe that's the time where I'll get up and stretch and walk around the computer or walk around the house or get some vitamin D outside. So this is just our own assessment where we can create a practice that can sustain us through the day. So we're not burning those adrenals and going into potential burnout, overwhelm, or stress. Okay, so wonderful. Thank you everyone for checking in. We'll come back to this a little bit later. And just a little bit about what we're going to do today. There's going to be some talking where we're going to just get ourselves all on the same page about what we're talking about here. Most of these things you might already know. I'm not doubting the wisdom that you're coming in with. I just wanted us to all get on the same page. And then between those times where we do some talking, we're going to do some practices. And it's my greatest intention that you're able to take these practices, practice them through the month, and then the next time we come on, we have some skills now, some tools that we can build on for next month. Does that sound okay? If anyone's on camera, just give me a high five or a thumbs up, making feel that that's good. Wonderful. So this is the first topic that we're going to talk about in this mental health, kickoff that we're doing this month. And this is a great time for this whole month of May for us to really make our health and our mental health a priority. Let's just think about this concept, and most of us have heard it before, the mind-body connection. Lots of research around this, lots of data around this, just really science-backed, evidence-based data that's saying, yes, the mind and body are very much connected, and one affects the other. So we may know that in theory, but how are we practicing that every day? And again, this is just for you to have a conversation with yourself. It's not for you to have any judgment around. This is a place where it's check-in, and it can be an improvement from this month. And when we're creating a new habit and new thought patterns this month, it has a higher chance for it to ripple in the rest of the year and as the months go on. So the importance of emotional and mental health in regards to our overall health. Some key points: when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling stressed and we don't know how to process that, it's actually having a biophysical effect on our bodies. And this can have many different symptoms and many different ways that we feel it. It can be through anxiety, it can trigger depression, it can have chronic heart rate, raised heart rate over time. It could even translate to chronic disease if it's something that happens time after time and day after day. So it's really important for us to understand, and just like we did, do a check-in. Where am I in my emotional health? Where am I at multiple times of the day? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling depressed? Am I feeling overwhelmed? Am I feeling stressed? All of these things matter. And the more that we can tune in and listen to our bodies, the more opportunities that we can jump in and have some opportunity to change and shift our state. So the most important thing for us is just to understand that our state is where we really want to move towards. It's not the moment by moment stressors, but overall through the day, can we say 70% of the time I felt calm? 70% of the time I felt like I was feeling relaxed. Even though all these things came up, I was able to adjust myself so that my overall state most of the day was in this place of ease and peace. So things that can disrupt, many things can disrupt us in this time that we have in our emotional state. We came out of a pandemic. We're still recovering from that. Loss of loved ones, grief, being laid off from our jobs, a myriad of things. These are just some of the things I listed that can disrupt our emotional state and our feeling of overwhelm, well-being, and peace. So just know that life happens, and what's most important is our ability to rebound or overcome or recover from these emotional disruptions. So poor emotional health, again, it really translates to our physical wellness and can manifest in a reduced immune system, our immune system being compromised. Many flus, colds, viruses can start to manifest and be part of our everyday. And we may be so used to it that we don't even notice that it's something that is not optimal in our experience, but it's just something for us to really think about. How many times have I been sick this year? How many times have I not feel well? How many times have I gotten up and went, oh, my energy level, I just feel tired already and I had 8 hours sleep. Those are some markers where we can start to think about putting attention into our emotional health and overall well-being. It can also come up with symptoms that are more immediate, like back pain, chest pain, dry mouth, all of these things. Insomnia. Has anyone experienced insomnia lately? Has it been hard for us to sleep lately? It could even move into our reproductive and sexual organs. There's many different ways that this can manifest in our poor emotional health, in our overall mental health, our state of our mental health. So this is something I want to encourage, and something that we do have as a philosophy at Community Well, is creating a practice. I love to have variety in my practice. I love to switch it up. The biggest thing is that I have attention to my emotional well-being every day, at least 15 or 20 minutes. It doesn't even matter what it looks like. Maybe it could be 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, 5 minutes broken out throughout the day. But if it's 20 minutes a day, that's a good pace for us to be able to foster creating a self-care practice and really weaving in these aspects of our whole physical health, emotional health, and spiritual health, looking at our mind, body, soul, spirit, connection in all of this. So I always say, little by little, day by day, that's where we want to be. So there's going to be a handout. You're going to have a little resource folder where it has an opportunity for you to fill out your own little practice throughout this month. I'll introduce that to the group later on as we kind of complete our time. So I just want to stop right here and just see if anybody has any thoughts, any feelings about this little aspect of the conversation, mind-body connection, any aha moments, any rememberings, or any inspirations right now. Feel free to raise your hand or feel free to share anything that's coming up for you, because I'm sure it's relevant to the group. Lizzie, yes.
Hi, Jennifer. I just want to welcome everybody also to the room, and just thank you for taking the time to share all of this with Jennifer, with all of us, and for everybody who took the time to be here today, because it's super important. What I was going to say is my observation is the days and the times when I need the space and the breath the most, when I'm noticing my stress level, it feels like I have the least time to give to it. And so I think it's just about, to me, I can tell, like my shoulders are getting tight. I'm worrying about stuff. I like sigh a lot. People be like, what's the matter? Like people ask, because I like not even thinking about it, but like unintentionally just go, like there's like a lot of symptoms. I just feel like I have the least amount of time to give to it.
Yes, great point. Does anyone else feel that way? Does anybody else? And you can kind of raise your hand. And I think that's a great point that Lizzie brought up. So something that I can suggest, and just to practice with this month, is making sure in between meetings, because I know that we have a lot of back to back now, that we put a buffer there, at least 15 minutes in between meetings, so that we can have the time to explore and expand and do a practice for ourselves. And then also what I found just through my own personal experience with this, the more we practice it, the more I want to say emotional equity that we put into our reserves that can help during those times, if that makes sense. So the more we practice this, the more that we have in reserves. So does that sound good as a maybe like a something to play with this month?
Yeah,
And
no, I think that's beautiful, right? That's the idea that it's maybe you don't have the capacity, but if you've taken the time all the rest of the time, that maybe you have those reserves. That's nice, Jennifer. I like that.
yeah, and I think like one of the key things that really supports me is in the morning. Just at least 5, 10 minutes in the morning, and that really sets me up for the rest of the day. And I've seen really, really great outcomes from that. So thank you, Lizzie. Awesome. So I'm gonna share. Is there anything else? Catherine, I see your hand up.
Hi, thank you. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm having connection issues, so I'm off camera. But yeah, I do have a practice of exercising in the morning, and I think that that really helps me with my energy through the day. I mean, I just happen to be a morning person, so I just like that's where all my energy is in the morning, and towards the end of the day is when I start to kind of like it's harder for me to do the focusing and all those as it gets to the end of the day. But to your point about back-to-back meetings, I mean, unfortunately, that's just a reality for all of us. And I actually do set my meetings to 45 minutes, but like they always go over, and I'm usually running late to the next meeting, which is why I was late to this one. So, I don't know. I think it's really this practice of consciously trying to end that. And it's so hard, but I hear what you're saying, and I really want to manifest that, especially when you are having those back to back. So to Lizzie's point, it's just like when you need it the most, it's hard because you just don't have that time. But on something else, that I work like on a second floor, and I was just thinking, I just saw this video about like relieving stress is also about like actually relieving it from your body, so like movement. And I was even thinking like even if I could like have 5 minutes to literally walk up and down the stairs and just get my body moving, like that's just a way to kind of like release that stress a little bit. And I've been thinking about just like honestly just even trying to implement that, you know, between meetings.
Yes, I love that. Thanks, Kat, for sharing. I think that movement is key. If we can get some movement, if you can do breath plus movement, that really helps a lot of things to move and be released in the system. Thanks for bringing that up. And if anybody has any stairs, just like Catherine, I'd love to hear if that works for you throughout this month as you're trying it out. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we're just going to try another little practice. And, for at one of our tools and skill building in this work of self-care is just really touching in and becoming very connected to our breath. We did that a little bit in their mindful movement. And what we're going to try together is what this is called a dose breath. So, dose meaning that it's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. So by doing this breath, and you could even just do 3, it doesn't even need to be any more than that, with a gentle smile on your face, all of these amazing neurochemicals and hormones are released in the body. And you can feel like if you start to notice how you feel before and after, most likely you'll feel a shift in your energy and how you feel after this breath. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just kind of wanted to get our mind around this of what we're doing here and the science behind it. It's a simple practice. And again, all you need is your breath. All you need is a little space. And if you want to stand up, that's great. You can do this sitting down as well. But basically, you just want to keep your knees and your knees, if you're standing, soft. If you're sitting, just allow your spine to become as straight without it being uncomfortable as possible. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 breaths. And we're just going to bring our arms across the body. Inhale here, arms go above the head. And here at the peak of your stretch, you're going to take a pause. Hold the breath until you feel like you're ready to release the breath. a smile on your face at the peak. And then when you're ready to release the breath, just audible exhale, arms come down in a beautiful way. Let's do two more. Arms come across the body. If you're standing, you're doing a beautiful bend. And as your breath comes up to the peak, holding your breath, smile on your face, feeling that inhale. And then when you're ready to release, just allow the arms to be flutter down to your sides again. And let's do one more. Inhale, arms come up, gentle smile on your face. Hold the breath at the peak, maybe for a beat, 2 or even 3 if you're feeling that. And when you're ready to release the breath, arms flow down. And then here at the end, I kind of like to give it a little juice and give my shoulders a little round and round there. But that's just what's called the dose breath. It didn't even take us a minute to do that. If you want to put in the chat how that felt for you, if that's an easy practice, or more importantly, as you went into that, how did it feel? Afterwards, after a minute, did you notice a shift? Feel free to share that in the chat. Blythe, yeah, felt a release. I love it. Thank you, Blythe and Christina. So it's just these little shifts. It's these little things that we can weave in every day, a minute before our meeting, and that kind of sets us up energetic wise. So, ooh, thank you, Saida. Help to recenter. I think Saida brings up a great point there. That easy breath helps us to be back in center, helps us to be back in our bodies. So shift on the exhale. Yes, that's where I feel it too, Gigi. I feel a lot of shift on the exhale for me as well. So this is again, this dose breath, play with it, practice it throughout the month as one of your restorative tools. That's the invitation this month. So I'm going to share my screen one more time, and we're just going to go forward with some of this information here and do another practice. But something I did want to bring up as part of our tool and to have in our tool belt is just understanding and being as mindful throughout the day as it feels right for us, and that's possible for us. And by being mindful or practicing mindfulness, it also helps us develop a deeper self-reflection and a deeper self-awareness within our interior body and how it relates to our exterior experience. So I love this quote from Gandhi, where it says, "A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks he becomes." So where are your thoughts for the most part throughout the day? You know, a lot of research shows that our thoughts are something that continuously go and are not necessarily the same or not necessarily new, most likely the same thoughts throughout the day 70% of the time. So mindfulness, and I would love it if, Marianne, can you read this mindfulness definition to the group? Because I love how your voice sounds.
Sure. Ability to maintain a moment by moment awareness of thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environment without being overly reactive. Tune and turn inwards without judgment on what you are sensing in the moment, rather than rehashing the past or imagining the future. It is a basic human ability to be fully present.
Yes. And that definition of mindfulness came from Greater Good, Berkeley, which I love. And I think it really encapsulates what mindfulness practice looks like. And that piece of without being overly reactive really stands out to me. Life continues to happen when we are mindfulness in how we react. There's a practice of us being able to emotionally combat, or not even combat, but emotionally be present with whatever's showing up. So why is this practice so important? Because what really works against us most times, and I am so guilty of this, is our thoughts. running, 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 running. In most cases, we have 72 thoughts per day on average. And like I said just a minute ago, many of these thoughts are not different from what happened the day before. And there's so much information overload, that it's hard for us to turn our thoughts off. Has anybody, experienced at the end of the night that it's hard to turn our thoughts off and relax? It's all of this bombardment that we're having. And I see some hands up, and yes. So it's really just not being able, like when we have a light switch on and off, we're not able to turn it off. So when we become mindful or have this practice of mindfulness, it helps us to turn off that light switch within us easier the more we practice it, because our thoughts can really have our way with us. And really, some of these triggering effects for our stresses or our worries is it goes through a process. There's usually an activating event. There's a belief or thought that we have about that activating event that triggers a stress, and then a fear of a consequence. That's usually what triggers our stress. And then in our modern society, because we are interactive with these activating events after one, after another, after another, after another, after another, we're never able to turn it off. It's chronically on. So we really want to get in the place have ownership of our ability to turn these stressors off and on. So this is something that I just wanted to have, and again, as an embodied practice for what we're doing here together, having this practice of what we call a mindful moment. And again, this is something that we're going to do together here. But what I would love you to do is play with this through the month. And the mindful moment is really fostering and cultivating, building up our skills to walk in life with mindfulness, and then therefore a deeper self-awareness of how we interact with ourselves and the world. So let's just take a moment. And if you want to stand and walk around, go ahead. I want you to feel like you can be in motion. But if you feel like you want to sit, that's really great too. And again, this is a tuning inward. So if you want to softly gaze down, feel free to do so. If it feels safe enough for you to close your eyes, you can close your eyes as well. Again, let's tap into our breath. Our breath allows us to fall into a deeper state of awareness and also relaxation. In the beginning of this practice, just feel how that breath is coming in and out of the body. Just bring awareness there. Notice the chest expanding. Notice the chest compressing as the breath comes out of the body. Allowing a gentle smile to come to your face. Now, after taking about 3 breaths, I just want you to notice the sensations on the skin of your forearms and hands. What's the temperature? What are you noticing? Notice the temperature. Notice the sensation. Notice if there's any memories coming up. Maybe some colors. Possibly some sounds as you're connecting into this connection. And as you're bringing awareness to your forearms and your hands, I just want you to connect to your pinky on either hand, keeping your breath slow and steady, and connecting to the very top of that pinky. noticing what's there, noticing the space there. Feeling that connection from the top of that pinky all the way up your arm. Connecting it now to the chest, to the heart space. Keeping gentle breaths here. Audible exhale. Let's take a collective breath together. Inhale here. Exhale. Shoulders up to the ears, around and back. And when it feels good, you can gently open your eyes or raise your gaze again. And if you have a piece of paper in front of you or something to write, or maybe it's something you want to put in your notes on your computer, just bring up a word, highlight a word that's coming up for you right now. Highlight a word. You can bring that in your journal. You can put that on your computer. So I'd love to hear if anybody wants to put in the chat that little practice. How was that for you? Relaxing, needed. Do you feel like it's something that you would interact with again, that you would bring into your everyday as one of your tools? Stillness, ooh, rejuvenating. Yes, love it. Yes, renewing, and it doesn't take long. Yes, I love that. It doesn't take long. Energy, and yes, wonderful. Thank you everyone for sharing. Thank you for being open to these practices. And if there's something else that comes up, feel free to, raise your hand or unmute. Happy to hear your voice in this space. I'm going to share my screen one more time here. Actually, yeah, let me do that. Can you see my screen okay? Okay, great. So why do this? If we had little monitors on us, most likely science would be detecting that there are some shifts in our biochemistry, and especially in our brain, and that translates and communicates to our body. So when we do this little practice like that mindful moment, it really shifts our state from what's called that sympathetic state, which is fight or flight. If we look at this diagram, it just kind of helps to highlight what just happened, what we experienced here together. So most likely when we are in our everyday world, we're in this sympathetic state where it's this red brain. And stress is helpful. It's something that we need in moderation. Now, again, in our modern world, with us moving so fast, it's really hard for us to turn those stress triggers off. So we're in this chronic state of stress. So having a practice like that mindful moment helps us to shift from the red brain to the blue brain, which is the parasympathetic state. In this state, it allows our brain to function the capacity it was meant to, and also has some great physical outcomes for our bodies as well, where our digestion is working optimally, our heart rate is reduced, our respiratory rate, our blood pressure is reduced when we move into this blue brain or parasympathetic state. And how this diagram illustrates it is that the sympathetic state is the stress brain, and the parasympathetic parasympathetic state is this meditation brain. So our stress brain and our rest brain. So what we did in that practice was that shift. And then there's this neutral brain as well, We're not one or the other, and it's easy for us to shift into one or the other. So just in that simple practice of 3 minutes, we were really able to do some potent work, not just with our brain, but with our body as well. And this is just a little bit, if you want to take a snapshot, those of us who like visuals, feel free to do that as well. For this parasympathetic versus sympathetic, but I always look at it as that sympathetic helps us to get the things that we want done. Those of us who are type A personality love to check off boxes. It helps us to do that. The parasympathetic state helps us to restore and renew and have resilience. So both have a purpose. And also, how can we move into the less utilized state, or the lesser utilized state of the parasympathetic state more often? So why does it matter? This is just a little bit about why it matters and us doing this. Again, it's just reiterating that these stress hormones, these hormones that are in our bodies that it's hard for us to turn off over time, and compounded really helps to have us have some frequent negative symptoms within our body that can translate to insomnia, persistent stress, chronic illness, and even in the worst cases, terminal illness. So it really does matter for us to prioritize our self-care and our overall wellness on a daily basis. So what is it that we can do? And again, like I said, I love to switch it up. I don't like things to be the same every day. I don't know where everyone is here. Some people like it to be the same, but some suggestions that I have that I've seen have worked really well with myself and people that I've worked with and people that come into community well is taking care of ourselves physically and emotionally. Like Catherine said, move as much as possible. Our bodies were meant to move. There's some studies out there, and I can't remember if it was Harvard or Stanford, that have been doing studies around how much we sit and are in the same place 8 hours plus a day, and that how actually is more detrimental to our health than, or equally detrimental to our health as smoking. So our bodies are meant to move. Our skeletal system, our nervous system, our digestive system needs movement. And if we're in the same place all day, that is actually having some health effects that are not having us be in our optimal health. So some things that I really love too: yoga, tai chi, hiking, any exercise, being in nature, cultivating that mindful presence, being in the present moment, being as aware in our bodies as much as possible. And the biggest thing is awareness and the motivation to make a change, no matter where we are. Those small degrees of change actually add up to be some huge impact in our health and overall in our mental state over time. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, right? Because I'd love to hear from the group. If there is pause share, stop share. Is there something that anyone wants to share? There was a little list there, but is there something that works for you? Something that you love, something that really is part of your practice that you either want to recommit to or you want to share with the group? This is something that's worked for me. I'd love to just put this into our container today. Yes, Catherine.
Well, I have a practice of exercising in the morning, but I think for me, it's like trying to incorporate something during the day. And now that the weather's nicer, I like to have sometimes walking my staff, where if it's nothing that we have to take notes, but it's just more like we're just being thought partners on something, I will meet up with staff and just walk and talk. And that's nice when the weather is better.
Yeah, so walking meetings. That's how you've been able to incorporate that into work. I love that. I love that. Yes, yes. Anyone else? Christina, I see your hand.
Yeah. I just got trained in a program called Heart Map, and that program, a lot of what you've been saying, shares that same information, the effects on our brains and bodies. And they have a couple of really quick practices that are really supportive and sort of in the moment and can help re-energize and recharge your battery. And I mean, I could just do one really quickly.
Yes.
And sorry, there's some background noise. There's people cleaning or doing something in the other backyard. But for a moment, just imagine that your breath is flowing into and out of your heart space. And breathing a little more slowly and deeply. And as you imagine your heart, your breath going through your heart space, try to get your breath to be even, 5 beats in, 5 beats out, or whatever works for you. And as you do that, activate a feeling that is renewing or regenerative, like appreciation or gratitude or care. It can be for a person or a pet. As you feel that, just breathe that into your system. And you can hold on to that throughout the day. You can practice that many times during the day. It's a really short practice. It can be shorter than what I just did. It can be longer than what I just did. But I see some smiles on people's faces. It always brings a smile to my face. So just a quickie little practice.
Love it. Thank you, Christina, for sharing that. Yeah, it didn't take long at all. And then as soon as I opened my eyes, I felt like that smile come to my face. It wasn't even forced. So it's kind of like the body is already having a conversation that it liked it. So thank you so much for sharing. I love that. I love that. So just if I'm just going to share my screen one more time. Actually, not one more time, again, because I wanted to highlight this last practice today. And I don't know if anyone has ever heard of this, but I love it. And it's AAPI month. So I wanted to highlight a practice that's done in Japan. It's called Rajio Taiso. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this, but it's been going on for 100 years in Japan. And it's calisthenics that's played over the radio where millions of people do together. How awesome is that? So it's been going on for that long, but they have this playing on the radio about 6:30 in the morning, and it's something that as a society is done. So how can we Heal Team start to do that here? That's my question. But what Radio Taiso does, or it translates to radio calisthenics, what it does is really focuses on our spine health. And as we know, so many nerves go down our spinal cord. And through that stimulation and engagement of the spine, all of these awesome hormones and chemicals get moved into the body. And we know that spine health or spine flexibility is a key portion of our overall health. So I'm going to walk us through this practice in the toolkit. There's a link to the website that really has like a detailed explanation of this practice, and also a link to a video of them actually doing it and walking the participants through the process. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, and I'm just going to invite us to do this practice. And this practice is no more than 5 minutes. So let me stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to kind of move my computer a little bit so you can kind of see a little bit more of my body as we're doing this. So feel free to stand. This is meant to be a standing practice. It can also be done in the chair in your modification. And just as a disclaimer, keep your own pace. Don't overextend yourself, and feel free to listen to your body. And again, that most important thing, keeping a smile on your face as we're doing this practice together. But it really starts off, and I was going to have some music playing during this, but it wasn't working out. So we're just going to do it with our own pace and our own music in our minds. We start off again your feet hip width apart, slow bend. It's always nice for us to have a micro bend in our knees, so we're not overextending our knees and our legs. It's also good for our circulation, also great for our chi flow as well, having these micro bends. But let's start off here, having our hands come up over our head. Gentle stretch, and it's coming at a pace. Radio Taiso comes at a pace, up and over, and then other way, other side here. Front with the circles, and then we're gonna kind of do a hit the legs, hit the knees, get that sound of your hands hitting the thighs, and that warms up the legs as well. And that warms up the thighs. And then from here, we're gonna do a side stretch, and then a 2, 2, side stretch, and 2, 2, side stretch, 2, 2. Feel the heat in the side of your hands. Feel the stretch on your side body. And here we're just gonna kind of do a squat and up. Squat, giving a little heat in the thighs, giving a little heat in our legs, and up, and squat. And it's a pace, it's a little pace here as well. And then we're gonna do kind of like a sumo push-up here. And then we're gonna do some spine twists here. Just a gentle spine twist, side to side, side to side. And then we're gonna go big on one side, little again. Big on one side, little again. Let's do that 2 more times. Big on one side, little again. And then from here, you can't see my legs, but what I'm gonna do is ask you to do 4 touches on the toes, micro bends on the knees again, and then up and stretch the back. So 4 touches of the toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, up and stretch on the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, up and stretch on the back. Wonderful. And now let's take a gentle arm circle from one side and then the other. Wonderful. And then what they do at the end is that they kind of do a hop. They go from one leg to the other. They bring up the energy and they bring up the heat in the body. And some people even do jumping jacks. If you feel comfortable doing gentle jumping jacks, you can too. But what they want to do is just kind of get a little heat in the body. And now let's end with that dose breath here. Arms come up. Gentle smile on the face, hold the breath at the peak. And when you're ready to release, 2 more here. Inhale, holding the breath at the peak, gentle smile on your face. And when you're ready to release, 1 more. Inhale. And when you're ready to release the breath here, let's do a Bringing the hands around you, giving yourself a hug, saying you're awesome, you're doing this. I always like to end with a little hand rub there. But I want to that's just a practice of Radio Taiso, and it's about 13 moves, and it's really fun. So if you like that, the link is in our little resource page. But just in the last couple of minutes, any thoughts coming up for people with just that little exercise? Ooh, love it.
I just loved how it felt like my blood started to flow. And again, I'm completely energized. And I have to go to my next meeting.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for that break.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So in the last 5 minutes, I just wanted to share. I'm going to share this screen again. So our second session is coming up in June. But in the chat, again, as you know, how we started this practice, let's just go back into this assessment. You know, what is your energy level right now? Just seeing what that number is. and then feeling, was there a shift beginning of the hour to where it is now? That's just something that continue to practice and continue to dive in for. I see some fives. Good. So there's some slight shifts that are being seen. And again, no judgment here. Every answer is correct. It's more about the self-assessment for yourself. Wonderful, wonderful. So workshop number 2, if you haven't signed up for that yet, it will be on June 7th, same time, and we're going to move, we're going to build, we're going to talk a little bit more about the anxiety that we feel, maybe even some depression moments that we have. We're going to explore more breath work techniques, stretching, acupressure points. So we're going to build more skills and have more things in our toolbox in the next session. So if you haven't already been part of the Shape Up newsletter, please make sure to sign up for the Shape Up newsletter, be up to date with all of the amazing things happening at Shape Up. And if you don't know about Community Well and want to be engaged and keep knowing more about us, this is our website, and all of our social media is you can get from the website. So one last thing I wanted to share. I'm going to put the link in the chat, but I do have this toolkit for us as for the group, and this can also be part of follow-up email as well. But I did want to just put this link in the chat, and within this toolkit that we have, there is that creating your own practice worksheet, as well as numerous graphics on how to do some of that mindful moments, some of the breathing exercises as well, and then a couple of meditations for you to play with through the month as we come back together in June. So hopefully that was, oh, and this is something I do want to share this for the group. This resource list is in that folder, and there's many things that I found very helpful. So books, media resources, websites, apps and tools, offerings, also a list of BIPOC one-on-one mental health therapists for you to share. Feel free to use it for yourself and share with your group as well. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen right now and pass it over to Marianne if you have any comments or last words that I missed as we're ending our time here together.
Oh, Jennifer, I just want to thank you so much. That was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. I feel restored, refreshed for the rest of my day, and something that I plan to continue throughout this month. And I look forward to session 2. So I did drop in the chat. The recordings will be posted on our website, the same page where you registered for this workshop. The recordings will be there along with the link to the toolkit. And if you haven't already, sign up for our newsletter. Just go to the Shape Up homepage, and if you scroll down, you'll find the link to enter your email address. But thank you again for joining us, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for taking this hour with us. Well.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.